As someone who spent his formative years in the 1990s, I am the first to acknowledge that it was incredibly weird. But the internet loves a bit of nostalgia, and I'm here today to tell you that cinema in the 90s wasn't actually as bad as you remember it. Blockbuster action flicks have largely held up pretty well, but this was a decade that gave us The Big Lebowski and Bill Clinton's affair, so there's got to be some more nuggets of comedy gold in there somewhere. And well, there is, and that's the entire premise of this video. So yeah, my name is Adam Cleary, this is my Furby Tolu, and these are the 10 most underrated comedy films of the 90s.
Hello everyone, before we kick off with what I'm sure is going to be some disgusting content from one of the spores who work here, let's talk about a game which is spreading like an absolute fever, Raid Shadow Legends. Raid Shadow Legends combines everything you love about classic RPG games with an amazing storyline, exceptional 3D graphics, enormous boss battles, and over 400 champions for you to collect and customize. All of this on your bloody phone. Yes, this on this. Mad. I mean, look at the detail here on the champions. And if it sounds like it's just me bigging up the game, well, I can assure you it's not, because it's had over 160,000 ratings, over 4.5 out of 5. Plus, it's not showing any signs of slowing down, with massive updates coming out very soon, this month in fact. So, sign up, join a clan, and get stuck in. But we're not going to send you away empty-handed, as by using the link in the description below, you can download Raid Shadow Legends, and we'll give you 50,000 silver and a free champion to start your journey. You are very welcome. Now, on with the content.
Number 10, PCU. It's understandable that the idea of Jeremy Piven being actually funny might give you a migraine, but yeah, there was a very brief period of time in the early 90s when he and his incredible receding hairline were oozing charm. PCU is something of a spiritual predecessor to the whole big man on campus comedies of the 2000s, like Van Wilder and Van Wilder, The Rise of Taj. Actually, it does share a great many beats with Old School, which ironically Piven also stars in. The biggest difference though is that PCU doesn't care about being clever or coherent or interesting, and is instead unapologetically offensive, relishes all its own flaws, and just wants to land as many jokes as humanly possible. What do you mean, like jewels? Number 9, Mystery Men. A great premise here. What happens if you're a superhero, but you're absolutely shit at it? Champion City is on the verge of destruction thanks to Casanova Frankenstein and his doomsday device. The only man who can stop it has been captured. Thus, the job falls to all the other heroes who, yes, are not very good at this. Ben Stiller plays Mr. Furious, who is furious. William H. Macy plays the shoveler, who has a shovel. Janine Garofalo plays the bowler, who bowls. And Wes Studi plays the Sphinx, who I think just has really bad IBS. It does sort of sound a bit stupid, but the laughs come thick and fast, and the subtle interplay between the various characters is really well written. It's just frat house Avengers at the end of the day, but it's still well worth a watch if you've never seen it before, and Kel from Keenan and Kel is in it, which is something. Number 8, Multiplicity. Alright, so what we have here is a wacky plot involving clones running amok. Post-Batman Michael Keaton playing multiple roles a la the Nutty Professor, and Andy McDowell as the far too understanding wife. It has all the classic trappings of a wholesome, family-friendly viewing experience, except what it actually is, when you get into it, is a dirty, subversive little satire about the ever-changing expectations of men in society. Okay, so Cliff Notes, hard-working family man Doug is struggling to find the balance between his work life and his home life. The natural solution is to find a geneticist who can make a couple of Doug clones, and many hijinks ensue. All the clones have their own personality, and Keaton absolutely knocks it out of the park. Like, genuinely, this might be his funniest work, and most people barely know it exists. Number 7, CB4. Chris Rock, no, don't turn off the video, this is actually good. Released just 5 years after Straight Outta Compton hit record store shelves, gangster rap was enjoying its first taste of major crossover attention. Rock, along with fellow SNL alumni Chris Elliott and Phil Hartman, went in on it two-footed. Obviously, CB4 wasn't the first comedy to question musicians' realness, and at times it almost just genre swapped some of the better jokes from Spinal Tap, but the young and lively cast swings so hard with their quips that you're positive Dr. Dre could feel it all the way from his lavish studio home. Occasionally a bit too goofy for its own good, CB4 nevertheless garners the kind of big laughs Chris Rock shouldn't have had to wait so many years to get from a mainstream audience. Number 6, Bassketball. Yes, I am putting Bassketball on this list. It is honestly honestly nowhere near as bad as you're incorrectly remembering it is. Orgasmo was absurd, Team America was, well, I mean, it had puppets, but this was a perfect capsule of the late 90s. It's a bunch of dopey, irreverent slapstick centered around two losers who accidentally create America's new favorite pastime by mixing together the core concepts of basketball and baseball. But it is so funny. Maybe it's because this particular style of comedy had fallen out of favour by the time 1998 rolled around, or maybe it's because South Park was still just a weird little cult programme that hadn't yet penetrated the mainstream. Who knows? But loads of you missed out on the psych-outs, the on-field meltdowns, and that bit with the penises. Number 5, Airheads. Brendan Fraser on the cusp of becoming a leading man. Steve Buscemi post Mr. Pink. Adam Sandler before he became overwhelmingly Adam Sandler. Chris Farley, Michael McKean, Judd Nelson, Ernie Hudson, and Michael Richards in his prime. Where were the Oscars? Oh, you've not heard of it? Okay. 3 down-on-their-luck rock star wannabes hold up a radio station in exchange for some airtime for their demo. The movie plays out with a loose, relaxed cool as a hostage negotiation involving nude photos of B. Arthur and a football helmet full of cottage cheese. I am absolutely serious about this. Just watch that one. Number 4, So I Married an Axe Murderer. In 1993, the Mike Myers hype train hadn't quite left the station. No Austin Powers, no Shrek, no whatever the hell else he did. With only Wayne's World under his belt, he hadn't yet proven himself a bankable comedic mind on the big screen. But So I Married an Axe Murderer proved that Myers had a knack for grounded situational comedy. Comedy that didn't have to rely on wigs and funny accents to make a thoroughly entertaining, endlessly quotable movie. It's a little craggy and rugged in spots, but it's endearingly hilarious throughout, and, well, lol, same. Plus, if nothing else, the cameos are excellent and you get to hear Myers hammering out his Scottish accent pre-Shrek and pre-Fat Bastard. Number 3, The Wedding Singer. The Wedding Singer is the perfect Adam Sandler movie, and I am 1,000,000% serious about that. Not only does it tone down the wacky man-child tendencies he'd exclusively exhibited until that point, but it also makes sure to never let him act too warm and snuggly. Robbie Hart isn't the same kind of guy who drunkenly berated a decorative swan in the middle of a bubble bath or attempted to murder a beloved game show host on a golf course. He is merely a down-on-his-luck wannabe rock star who happily accepts homemade meatballs as payment for an old lady's vocal lessons. At the heart of this is the relationship between Sandler and Drew Barrymore, and if you've seen 50 First Dates and are thus assuming that it must be horrible, you are wrong. It is nowhere near as as it is in that film, if it even is at all. Look, if you're still not convinced, you get to see 80s-style Steve Buscemi get drunk and act like a massive dickhole within the first half hour of the film. What more do you want? Number 2, The Cable Guy. By 1996, Jim Carrey had officially established himself as the wacky, face-contorting second coming of Jerry Lewis. But like Lewis, Carrey also had a dark side, one that never got to see the light of day in the dopey roles he'd been portraying up until that point. Luckily, Ben Stiller was able to tap into some of that dark energy in his sophomore directing gig, unleashing the type of cringeworthy comedy that was a big risk for the time. Sadly, virtually none of Carey's fans got it, and the movie bombed. But looking back now, The Cable Guy was way ahead of its time. If anything, it's the film that got the ball rolling on some of those awkward comedy tropes that made the Hangover movies such a huge success. Narcissism, deception, manipulation, obsession, obliviousness. It is a tough watch, I'll grant you, but behind every dicey encounter there's this thick, heavy laugh that comes from deep down in your soul. Number 1, Dogma. The black sheep of Kevin Smith's early work should have been a huge hit at the box office. It had a lot going for it, including an all-star cast and a provocative premise that all but guaranteed the film would receive more buzz than anything he directed previously. Unfortunately, and this is really surprising to me because religious lobbying groups usually tend to be really chilled out about this kind of thing, it all fully kicked off and scores of mad Americans called for it to be boycotted. What? That's not like them. I mean, that sucks because Dogma is an incredibly thoughtful satire that pokes great fun at how little sense the Bible makes, with a few digs at the Catholic Church's authoritarianism thrown in along the way. But the thing is, you can only write something like this that well if you were raised in a Catholic household, which Smith was. Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, Chris Rock, Alan Rickman, Linda Fiorentino, and even Alanis Morissette all ring out gut laughs from religious hypocrisy, which is not easy. So there you have it, those are the 10 most underrated comedies comedy movies of the 1990s. Give us your favourites in the comments below, and of course don't forget to like, share and subscribe. In the meantime though, thank you so much for watching. I've been Adam Cleary, this has been Tolu, and we'll see you soon. Bye!